Hello friends, welcome back to yet another episode of IP Champion Series, an initiative of Europe India IP Forum to celebrate and share journey of our leaders in Indian IP ecosystem around us. This time we have Madhu Rewari, partner from Anand and Anand with us. Welcome Madhu in this episode.
Thank you, Ankita. Pleasure.
She has 16 years of experience, more than a decade, in trademark prosecution and creating brand strategies, along with doing the due diligence for companies who want to acquire IP assets, very interesting field, and of course, providing advisory to them around the commercial issues. She has also worked extensively for domain name disputes and arbitration around it. So our first question is going to be around your professional journey and how do you balance expectations with your personal commitments?
Thank you, Ankita. I'm glad to be a part of the series that you've started on IP as a subject and for IP professionals. So my IP journey actually has been very interesting. I started off with my journey while I was in college in 2004 when I had started my internship at Anand and Anand. The internship itself gave me huge exposure to various complicated issues relating to IP. I worked on several patent matters while I'm a trademark professional now, while an intern, at Anand and Anand. So that actually, gave me the exposure and interest also to pick IP as a subject. And in 2005, when I graduated, I was not able to get directly a job in Anand and Anand because there was no vacancy then. But for a year, I worked with Tata Power and I tried myself to best to get a job at Anand and Anand then in 2006. So from 2006 onwards, there has been no looking back, and I have exposed myself to various aspects and areas in the field of intellectual property. In my journey in IP, I've got guidance from the best mentors, I would say, in the IP field, Mr. Praveen Anand and Mr. Safir Anand. They need no introduction, and they've really, helped me grow in the years, from 2006 onwards to help me in understanding the basics of IP and also how the law is changing and how we need to, as young IP professionals, we need to see how we can come out with innovative and creative solutions. So my journey has been how I have tried to, build my IP career, where I worked on protection of IP, enforcement of IP, strategization of IP, creating commercial value out of IP. And also in my, personal life, I have been very lucky to have a family who has been very supportive. And my children also, I have 2 kids. Staying with the in-laws, it just makes me a little easier to be in office and also manage back home. So this has been, very easy for me, I would say, in terms of how I have been able to manage both professional and personal life.
Because as you have mentioned, having the right mentors on board and having the personal support from your family, that's very, very important and crucial, I think. And then having the right mentors and freedom to think and thinking out of box, that's very, very crucial. So moving ahead to the second question. As you have worked and advised various companies around evaluating the IP assets, right, and commercials around that. So what do you think that what's the current scenario in Indian companies and how they're evolving with the perspective from SMEs, MSMEs, big players or startups, as so many unicorns and unicorns are coming up?
So what we can see is that there is a change in the trend on how the companies used to think earlier. We never had a trend where, you would see startups or you would see unicorns. In the last few years, we've seen that, there is an emerging trend of several entrepreneurs coming up. And that field itself, takes them to a level where they are looking at new technologies and new aspects of evolving the business in a manner which was not in existence earlier. So I see that there is a change because of the digital revolution which has come in India. And we see that, the new companies now try to come out with new kind of solutions which have not been existing in the market. And I think that's the key point, has led to a change in how the companies used to think and now what it is. And in the current scenario also, we see that the companies understand that their valuation is largely based upon intellectual property rights. Because at the end of the day, if your company is driven by technology, it is the intangible assets, which is going to help you in create value out of what you own. So even if, there is a new technology in science or something, which is going to come up in communication, there is going to be an emergence on the intangible assets. And as an organization or as an individual, as a creator, as an author, as an inventor, no matter who you are, if you are running a business, you need to look at what kind of intangible assets are you creating, because it is going to help you at the end to assess and value your company if you are looking at a funding stage, or even if you're looking at the end of the year, if you're looking at your annual reports. That is something, which the companies have realized now and have started taking stock of. Even in the annual reports, we never used to see IP being mentioned separately, but we see that, IP litigation, IP assets being declared separately in the annual reports now. So there is definitely a change that has come in.
That's very interesting and heartwarming to see, how our Indian IP ecosystem is evolving and how companies are recognizing value of IP assets. And even so, as you have worked around various domain names, disputes, or the arbitrations, and you're also a member of IMT as well, how do you think that Indian IP ecosystem, specifically around the domain names or the arbitration, is converging around? Because earlier it was the scenario that lot many European or the United States companies are coming here and engaged around in arbitration and disputes. But whether scenario is changing, vice versa, or what do you think?
So the domain name, we again see that, we are looking at infringements, or we are looking at actions being taken because of brands which are used on the domain names, right? So again, the internet, is somewhere or the other involved. So we see that, yes, there is an increase in the disputes which are being filed. Either it is CCTLD or it is GTLD. So we see that there is a change how the companies are filing their actions against third parties for violating their trademarks. The INDRP also is policy which is there, and UDRP also is helpful in terms of protection of the brands where there is misuse. And also the other factor is that the Indian companies have now started also filing their applications through Madrid in international jurisdictions. So when they see that there is a change in the trend in filing in India, and also they have protection internationally, they start looking at protection of their trademarks and filing action against copying of their trademarks in international jurisdictions also. And domain name disputes are helpful in terms of protection of the right holders. I am also part of the Internet Committee at the INTA. And along with this, what we try to do is we are trying to come up with solutions to look at how right holders can have proper protection, looking at the change in the technology which is coming. We have AI now, which is coming up. We look at NFTs now. So we are looking at various aspects. We're looking at how metaverse is going to evolve and how it is going to be a challenge to protect yourself. We are also looking at how GI, geographical indications, can be protected in the DNS system. So these are things which are going to definitely, be challenging and coming up. And I'm glad that the Indian companies also realize the importance, and they are, looking at protection and also enforcement at the same time.
Very interesting. And actually, we see that from your perspective, as an expert perspective, yes, things are evolving because you are engaging with them, you're interacting with them, their mindset and how they're thinking. And so what's your advice for young professionals, not just the IP?
So I would say that you need to work hard, and there is no shortcut to it. You need to read up and you need to write, in the sense that if you're thinking of shortcuts where you can get a solution, that's not the way. If you're starting fresh in your career, it is important that you explore and, you exploit whatever you get. You are more creative and innovative in your solutions. You think out of the box and try to ensure that whenever you look at a problem, you're trying to look at not just what is given in your textbook, but you're also trying to look at, your experience through which can either be gathered by working at various law firms in internships. So try to get a practical aspect to any problem and give a solution which is more out of the box, I would say. And that is something, how you will evolve as a lawyer.
All these key ingredients and the pointers. So our audience, our young professionals, please keep in mind all these pointers, having the right mentor on board. Please learn and write. Please interact with the learned people. Please keep your mind, see what's happening around you and think out of box. Thank you, Madhu, for your precious time and valuable time and sharing these interesting insights with us, your professional and personal journey.